Hey, Victoria.
Hey, Michelle.
I'm so excited that you're here.
I'm excited too.
I feel like we are fast friends. I met you a little while ago through the unblinded work, through someone who was like, "You have to meet this amazing woman," and I was like, "Oh my goodness, yes, I do." And then we connected, and it feels like I've known you forever, and it's only been a short time.
I know so much synergy, and I love talking with you, and we just have so much in common. And you're incredible. I mean, you're a powerhouse of a person. What a contribution. So, this for me is such an honor. I love being here. So, thank you.
Thank you. Awesome. So we are here to talk about a very important topic. I am so excited. I have not covered this topic, and I know so many people are affected by autism in their lives, whether it's their children, their loved ones, that maybe they have the adult version is that Asperger's. They might be having all kinds of relationships to this topic. So I think it's important that we elevate the discussion. And I couldn't think of anyone better than you because of the work that you do and because of your perspective on autism. So thank you for being here. We are part of a series, Michelle's Conversations That Matter, where I'm out to cause more open dialogue about those conversations that really are important and deserve some attention. So I can educate, maybe inspire people and have them have a different relationship to different topics. So let's dive right in. Would you please take a moment, Victoria, introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, where you live, and what you do.
Yes. So, who I am in the world is always a possibility of love and contribution. I am a therapist. I actually have a private practice now in the time of COVID. It's very much virtual in Great Neck, New York. I live in Queens. I'm a Queens girl. And I do a lot of different things. I'm a therapist, a researcher. I'm actually finishing a lot of my research and defending my dissertation that's coming December, and it's in actually post-traumatic growth as it relates to parents of a kiddo with autism. So I'll talk a little bit about that. And I'm a speaker. I speak all over the country, chatting with people about how to actually support kiddos and teens through trauma using different kinds of alternative-based approaches. And I'm a huge collaborator. I think that's why I was so attracted to the unblinded world. And actually, that's how we met, right?
Yeah.
So really working with all different kinds of people in the world who have a similar focus, helping people and contributing to their mental health.
Awesome. And I love how you introduced yourself as a possibility, which screams that you are a graduate of the Landmark work.
I am.
So thank you for reminding me that is yet another synergy we have in common, is that we are so connected to personal development. I love it.
We are. Yes, we are.
Awesome. So, hey, let's start talking. I have my first question to you is, could you basically educate us? So there's a lot of people who have a relationship to what autism is through whether they've heard it through school or heard it through other people or the news or whatever. But could you just educate us and define what is autism and give us some context about autism?
Sure. So I think that a lot of people, even people who go to school and learn about autism, there's a very different, it's like many things. We learn about it in one way, and how we actually see it in life is very differently. It's not always what a textbook says. But, autism is called a neurodevelopmental disorder, right? And it's characterized by a whole bunch of different things. A main one, which a lot of people are very familiar with, is a deficiency, as they say. And you can see as I cringe using the word deficiency, in like social, emotional aspect. So social skills are not all there. Eye contact is not all there. And, autism is a spectrum. It doesn't look one way only. A lot of people relate to like the Rain Man, Rain Man as what an autistic person looks like, but people are either verbal or sometimes on the other side of the spectrum, not verbal. So it looks very differently. But the main core of it is that there is a difference in how individuals with this diagnosis relate to other people and and their social skills. Their social skills may be different. They may not have the same social skills or meet the expectations that people would like for them to meet in our greater Western society.
Got it. You helped me to give this episode a title, and you said Autism, a Difference in Life Perspective. So talk to us why you believe autism is merely a difference in life perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Autism, I'll go to, in short, autism, lots of people think that people who have this diagnosis don't want to connect with other people. That they don't have a desire for connection or relation because they like being on their own, they keep to themselves, sometimes they don't speak, and therefore they don't understand. But actually, autism is a difference in life perspective. It's just seeing the world from a completely different lens. And when we shift our understanding of what autism is and isn't to just a difference in life perspective, we actually shift our entire way of being with people who have autism. And we shift how we treat them. And what I mean by treat is like the treatments that we provide. Mm-hmm. We shift how we regard them, how we talk around them, how we speak to them and relate to them. And it's just a difference in how they see the world. That's just the nutshell of it.
Yeah.
I can talk about it more and more.
No, I think the first step is to not relate to people with autism as being broken, as being less than, right? And so when you shift your perspective, then you have a different relationship, and you're, like you just said, your interactions are different. Everything starts to be coming from a different perspective, which is so important. And our perspective is decisive, right? How we see things. So important.
Yeah.
Do you want to, go ahead.
Yeah, no, to speak to what you're saying, Michelle, yeah, when I'm a therapist, and so I say I'm the best assessor, I'm like an amazing assessor, and why it's important, and I've become obsessed with being a good assessor of what's happening for a person, is because your assessment of autism, your assessment of a person, your assessment of the situation has everything to do with how you relate to them afterwards. And so what happens a lot for families who have kiddos with autism, or, they think that there's something going on, is that if the person in the medical profession or the mental health profession who is telling this parent about their child is not informed from this perspective, and they're only informed for the medical model perspective, the deficiency, broken, it's a death sentence perspective, they will be giving them, they will be assessing this way and giving them information about the prognosis and possible outcomes for their kiddo from that perspective. Yeah. And now you have this parent who is equipped with only part of the information. And so I'm super passionate about talking to people about the whole picture, and not just what, unfortunately, our managed care system or, some professionals who may not have the whole perspective give at the time of the diagnosis, or at the time when the child is really young.
Wow. What are some of the common struggles that you are hearing from parents with children with autism, and what advice do you typically give them? And I can think that it's going back to what you just said. So like, say you have a new client, and is that the first thing you do, is you tackle their perspective and you help them understand the full picture?
Great question. I was actually just speaking to someone I'm collaborating with who's a mom, and also a mom of a teen with autism, and she does incredible work in this space. It is to answer your question, it's a very isolating journey. For a lot of parents with children on the spectrum, they will tell you that they're very lonely and it's isolating. And even nowadays, where there are support groups and there are people out there who also are willing to say, hey, my kiddo has autism too, you can be in a room full of those parents, and each one of those parents will have such a different experience of their journey that they will still feel alone and isolated. So it's a very, very unique experience for each one of those parents. And the kind of things that we see is, it's isolating. And my advice is I have a lot of advice, but in regards to that is support has been found to be one of the biggest predictors of growth through this journey of having a kiddo with autism, is finding your voice inside of what you're going through. And that's really part of post-traumatic growth, which is what I research and talk about. But to your other point, I don't always talk to people about the possibility of growth through their struggle in the beginning, because people may not be ready to hear it. It's like somebody going through something traumatic and you telling them, hey, by the way, there's this possibility of growth. And they're like, excuse my language, go screw yourself. Like, I'm in the midst of a huge depression around what happened to me. What are you talking about? So you have to be very careful where people, to know where are people in their journey and being with it. So like the art of it is being with them where they're at, and being that expert companion, helping guide them from where they're at to where they can be, but not pushing, not challenging, like really being with them.
Do you want to share with us a little bit about your research that you've done?
Sure. Yeah. I'm super excited about it. Like I said, I'm finishing my dissertation. December is my defense date. And I've really become an expert in understanding the post-traumatic growth journey of parents that have children with autism that are now adults. So really looking retrospectively, like what's the difference between these parents that have experienced growth through their struggle and parents who really have not. And I want to use this information to support policy, support how we treat the family, not just the kid, because treating the family and the parent is treating the kid. And so it's been fabulous, to look at. Post-traumatic growth, by the way, is the growth or benefit finding that happens not because of a trauma. So it's not because of the natural disaster, not because of the child with autism, but because of the struggle that someone goes through post-trauma. And what's been wonderful is that there's a huge distinction between suffering and struggle. We can all suffer when we experience something very shocking, but not all of us know the art of what it means to struggle, to really struggle with our emotions, struggle with the meaning of having a child who we never thought we would have, really asking for help, things like that. So it's been a beautiful research into that world.
That's amazing. Good for you. I can only imagine the difference you're going to make by highlighting that and helping there be better care and better support for families. That's great. It's phenomenal. So do you have any magical stories of experiences working with families or children that you want to share? Because I think we all could use a couple of stories of hope and positivity in the space of autism.
Yeah. So I'll share a couple of stories. So one of them was how I even got to be interested. People always say to me, you don't have anyone in your family, you don't have any friends that are on the spectrum. So how did you, get to be this, passionate about it? One time when I was an intern, a long time ago, I went to this seminar, and I was the only professional. Everyone else there were families, and they were families of children, of families that have children with autism. And everything I had learned in college about autism was very dark and, let's get these kids to just behave the way we want them to behave or socially appropriate. It wasn't really around, there wasn't a light, way to talk about them. But when I got to the seminar, and it was a seminar teaching a modality to how to be with your kids, these parents were talking about wow, like I love my child with autism. This was years ago, like over 15 years ago, right? So I love my child with autism. I've grown so much. I've become this because of my child. I would never, you know, change it for the world. And I thought that I had entered, it's like, is this a cult? Like, who's drinking the Kool-Aid? Where, like, what is this, you know?
Uh-huh.
And I stayed that day, and then I returned the next day.
Uh-huh.
And what that was it was the Sunrise program, and it's one of a few, very few relationship-based treatment programs for children. And what I got was that these parents were doing the work to really surrender the way I mean, my view is like surrender what they thought it should be.
Yes.
And really be with their child and fall in love with who their child is and allow their child to guide. And that leads me into my magic moment where I became really in love with the Sunrise program and their approach. And it's based on volunteers in the home working with your child.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm a volunteer with this family and on the Upper West Side many years ago. And this child is like rocking, like all he didn't speak. He was about 7 years old, didn't speak, didn't make eye contact, couldn't be in a regular mainstream classroom, wasn't connected to seemingly connected to his siblings or parents, and in the way that we normally, quote unquote, typically should be. But week after week, I would come and I would be one of like 4 interns that would come in and work with him. And I was sitting there and I was rocking with him. He was rocking, I was rocking on the floor. And he started to lay down and spin, and I started to lay down and spin. And, he started to flap and I was flapping. And then all of a sudden, it's what we call the green light. He looks at me and he locks eyes with me, and I just get chills. And this was many, many years ago. And in that moment, that was a green light. It's what we call a green light. It's like he's inviting me, for me to invite him into my world. And so then I make a different movement and I start to clap my hands and he starts to clap his hands. And this is how we were interacting for weeks until, he was, starting to speak words and make eye contact. And, Michelle, the reason this is so magical for me, it seems so simple, mm-hmm. because when parents come to me when their children are like 14 and they say to me, Victoria, we've done everything the doctors have said to do, but I still don't see my child when I look him in the eyes, like I can't connect with him. Why? This is why, because our system does not share about the importance of relationship-based, activities and treatment. These kids just have a different life perspective and require us to surrender our expectations.
Yeah.
And so that's just a couple of stories.
Oh my gosh, I'm so moved by that. I'm moved by that because what it's screaming to me is that these societal norms and these expectations to fix something that's broken is the problem. The way you related to that little boy made all the difference in creating the connection that was necessary to have him have progress.
Mm.
It's just like it gets me fired up when I think about how we do conform to societal norms, and these poor children of autism are caught in that expectation that's just not fair.
Yeah, it isn't. And parents don't have it easy either. The society we grow up in and what's told to us should be, and, what we expect when we have kids and, of ourselves, it's also embedded. And so I get it, it's like it's like almost unbraiding the things that have been so entwined for so long.
So I bet you spend a lot of time trying to empower parents and really have them just be with the situation, which is not, it's got to be hard. It's got to be a really hard role that you play in trying to help them.
Yeah. Michelle, think about we've talked a lot about your experiences. I've shared a little bit about mine. It's like any trauma. What is trauma? It's like when something is expected and then it comes crashing down. You're like, holy cow.
Yeah.
I never thought, right? Like that's when it creates a different shift in your thinking of, I never thought this could happen.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, being with people who are shocked about their circumstance and in fear all the time. Parents with children with autism are in fear all the time. They never feel like they have a grasp because something else will always come. There's no blueprint for parenting. There's definitely no blueprint for having a kid with with special needs. And so it is challenging, but it's challenging, but it's also really important. And it takes surrendering my own expectations, because sometimes I just want to be like, but look what can be, but you can't always do that.
Yeah. So how do you work with families? Educate us a little bit about, what do you have, like consultations? Like, how does it work if someone wanted to reach out and have you support them?
Yeah, really great question. So I do work with kiddos. So that's something that I do. But I've been taking to an approach that I found to be even more successful, which is first just really enrolling parents in working with me first. Hands down, it saves them money, it saves them time, and we get to work with parents on their own expectations, their own trauma around whatever it is that they're dealing with. Their own healing that has to go on, because there's a lot of shame associated with the journey, a lot of things that parents are going through. So I work with parents mostly. There's an assessment, of course, and during sessions, and I also have programs that I offer for parents to take like a 6-week program with me. And it's also some group coaching. So they get to learn a lot of different things as well as have conscious conversations. And then if they choose to also work with me individually, they can do that. And I also offer programs to companies, schools, hospitals that they can offer to their staff and participants.
And leaning back into what you said earlier about how parents feel all alone, are you also, with the work you're doing, bringing people together to create a community of support?
Really awesome question. What came out of my research, actually, Michelle, is that the number one thing parents wish is they wish they had someone tell them that everything is going to be okay, even if it's not going to look the way they think it should. They say that if they had someone who went through what they went through, tell them that and reassure them of that, they would have been way less anxious and more in joy about their child's developmental years.
Wow.
And so it had me think, and I'll share it here live, what if we had like parents who have been in a certain part of the journey, mentoring and being, supports for parents who are just starting their journey.
Yes.
And we created a way for parents to, to come together and to be paired up. So that's something that's percolating for me of, if anyone out there, I'm all about sharing. So this is an idea, take it if you want it, but if you haven't yet, collaborate with me.
Yeah.
I'm looking for people who are interested in doing that and finding a way to bring people together to really not have this be so isolating.
Yeah, you got to build a community, girl. That's what's necessary. I think people, like you said, there's shame, there's embarrassment, there's isolation. Everyone feels their situation is very unique to them and they're alone. Yeah. So that's amazing that your research actually verified that if someone would have just told them that it was going to be okay, even though it wasn't going to be the way I thought it should look, and that reduced anxiety, imagine the difference that would make for that family.
Huge.
Yeah. What else do we need to know about autism, Victoria? What do you want people to know about? People maybe who maybe they just don't understand when they say, I don't know, help us understand more.
Oh my God. I'm becoming emotional, Michelle. I didn't think this was going to happen.
No.
In my private practice, I work with a few adults on the spectrum, and they just have so much to contribute, and they are funny and like just hysterical in many ways, and smart, and incredibly unseen. What I want people to know is that we need to, just as a society, suspend any sort of expectations about how we want people to show up. And, people who are on the spectrum want to connect. They need to be given a seat at the table.
Yeah.
Not just a seat at like the inclusion table, or like a seat in a mainstream classroom. And all of that is wonderful. And those initiatives are great.
Mm-hmm.
But just really the work is with us. The work is not really all just with them. The work is with us in society to really expand our understanding of, people, humanity.
Yeah. Acceptance. I mean, I think I was reading, I'm all about inclusion in the workplace of people with all kinds of abilities. And I was reading an article about, the workplace of the future embraces people with all abilities, has the autistic person that is really good at something, be able to be the contribution that they can be and be fulfilled. And the company benefits from that, by the work that they do well. So I think, I love what you just said. I think we all need more compassion and understanding and recognition that different doesn't mean less than.
Yes. And, Michelle, you also, if I may, had me think. I have a couple of people I work with who are also on the spectrum, but they actually, I'm not going to name the names, work for very, very big companies that we all actually use every day. And they struggle with, companies struggle with retaining these professionals who are incredible because they deal with so many challenges related to how to actually deal interrelationally with other people.
Yeah.
And they deal with a ton of depression. People on the spectrum deal with anxiety. They deal with the same exact things that we deal with: sadness, worry, mood dysregulation. So it's not just autism. There's comorbidities, and they're also dealing a great deal with the very same things that we are. And so my message out there for companies is, there's a great quote that I was just sharing with someone that I saw on Instagram. You're either going to pay attention to your health now or make a lot of time for illness later. Because, it's the same with companies. Either deal with the fact that, you really should pay attention to the whole health of your, staff, or deal with the fallout later, because you're going to lose really good people. And, really good people are going to suffer and not have good balance because they're not getting the support. And I champion the companies that are giving the support, because there are others out there that are.
Yeah, there are. There's a lot of great companies that get it. I love reading about them because they do. They do. And it is all about accommodations, right? Like, I used to work with a woman who, she couldn't be in the open cubicle environment. She needed to be, in her home office. And now look at us all working from home. Isn't that the irony? But like, it's meeting employees where they are with what they need so they can perform to the best of their ability. It's not that hard to do that. It's not so hard to be flexible. But yet, we still have in some instances, companies that are really, they have it, that has to be one way. Well, people don't come in one size fits all. People are different. People have different abilities, and we need to be meeting people where they are so we get the best out of them and they get to be a contribution in the world.
Absolutely. And it's trust. Trusting that people are not trying to get away with something, or they're trying to, they're just asking for what they need. And if we just collaborate and are able to, see it that way, we can create a really beautiful, compassionate workplace.
So what's next for you, and how do we can connect with you through your website, but do you have any programs or anything coming out we should be watching for?
Yes. So definitely connect with me through my website. I work with parents, in different increments of time. I, have a whole system that I take parents through that leaves them, it's as close to a blueprint as you can possibly get, which is what I hear from a lot of them. Just give me a blueprint. I can't do that, but I will tell you that when you are screwing them up, I'm just kidding, how you're doing it. So at least that eases some anxiety, because we all screw kids up one way or the other. Nobody gets out alive from childhood, as I like to say. But yes, so I have a 6 and 8 week program that parents can opt into. It's something that, they can gain information, some self-mastery, and then also learn how to actually put it all together. And it's really mastery over themselves. And I'm also doing a lot of exciting things with other professionals in the financial field, in the law field, with you, where we're just offering programs for companies. I've become very passionate about working with companies to support their staff. And so if people are out there and they're thinking, I would really love to collaborate with Victoria. She has something I don't, I have something she doesn't. Let's see what we can do. Give me a call. I'm open to a conversation.
I love it. Girl, you are amazing. Keep doing the work you're doing. The difference you're making is huge. I'm going to share this with as many people as I possibly can, because we know how many people are affected by autism. And I hope I hope people get some hope from what they currently maybe thought reality was. So thank you. Thank you for being here, giving me some of your time today. And I'm sure we are going to be chatting soon.
Yes. Thank you so much, Michelle. This was amazing, a pleasure, and we'll talk soon.
Awesome. Thank you, my dear. You have a good rest of your day.